small fringe minority.
All right. What is it? Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday night. It's the Tuesday Night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing out there? Looks we got Rosie, we got Trudeau Survivor, and Nevada in the chat already. Good to see you guys. All right. What's going on? Should we do the, you know what? Let's just do the menu quickly. Let's do the menu quickly, see what we're going to talk about tonight, and then we'll go back to the chat, and then we'll come back and do these stories properly. All right, so first off, what have we got? J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance basically wrecking another biased, aggressive journalist regarding Europe. I think he handles these things so well, J.D. Vance. He really does. I think he's going to do well in 2028. I think that even for people, even for, the leftists, they're going to find it refreshing. He just has a very different style from Trump. I'm not saying I don't like Trump's style, although sometimes it's like, come on. But J.D. Vance is more of a traditional style statesman. I think it'll serve him well. We've got the Unite the Kingdom rally in the UK that happened on the weekend and went very well. A little smaller than last year, but still a huge crowd, as we will see. We have, let's see, what do we have here? Hold on. Oh, yeah. So Canada has now been kicked out of our permanent joint board of defense with the United States because we're just not a serious country anymore. We're going to take a look at that. We are going to take a look at Mark Carney and China, the liberals. Conservatives are saying China's not going to tell us what to do. And if we want to send somebody to Taiwan, we're going to do that. So good. So here we have that awful propaganda hit piece against Canadian conservatives, the supposed prank show from CBC and APTN, where they funded American far leftists to come to Canada to try and humiliate Canadians for this prank show. God knows how much money they spent on it, but apparently they've paused production on it now since news has broken of the disgraceful, unforgivable behavior of the CBC, which is supposed to be for all Canadians, by the way, and not so elbows up, hiring American far leftists to come to Canada and paying them to try and humiliate Canadians. AI, what's going on here? Elon Musk is saying that you're going to have Westworld. Remember that show, Westworld? All the robot cowboys and stuff. He's saying something like that in 5 years with Optimus. So it's a countdown of about 5 years until you can fuck a robot, apparently. We'll hear about it. Gender ideology. So here we have something from the States where a school board voted to remove a controversial song from a student band concert. And, I'm glad to see this because it's just getting too much now. Like you open the door a little bit and everything floods through, right? So it looks like, there are some school boards in the States that are starting to, just wake up, I guess. What do we have here? We have a problem with academia. Well, everybody knows what the problem is. Not only have conservatives become vanishingly rare in academia, so have centrists. So this was posted by Steve Stewart Williams, and we're going to take a look at this and see the state of academia. This is in the States, but this is absolutely Canada, UK, everywhere in the West, right? You can see even now just centrists are like completely, totally dominated by far left extremists, commies. And we're going to go through just one paper. We've gone over so many. I don't need to do, go over infinite papers, but I'll just show you one here that just shows you just how absurd the whole thing is. What do we have here? So the IPCC, which is the climate organization that the UN relies on, that's been telling us all about, we're going to globally boil and all of that. Well, apparently, their predictions of the worst case scenario, their extreme scenarios, they're now saying, nah, it's not going to be that. Not going to be that. So it's perfect timing, too, when everybody's giving up on this stuff, except for Canada for some reason, because I think Mark Carney needs to make a bunch of money. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, yes. So, and we'll take a look at Mark Carney with his net zero and how none of this affects anything. The media doesn't notice it. Nobody cares. In the establishment, this is all just received knowledge. The world's ending. Net zero. You have to reduce, even if it doesn't do anything. And then we will get to the last tab of the evening, which is always dominated by stuff that you crazy degenerates send in. Usually there's funny stuff. Usually got some animal stuff. I don't know. There's some crazy genetically modified chocolate. What? That's no good. We got a bunch of stuff here. So it's fun. There's some funny stuff. There's a bunch. Oh, we got some animals. Very well indeed. All right. Now, I would like to ask anybody watching over on YouTube to please come and subscribe to the second channel, Radio Baloney News. This channel was going great. I was looking forward to getting it fully monetized over the next couple of months. Things were going well. The reason I started the second channel was because my first channel, the original, the one you're watching right now, obviously red flag, shadow banned, whatever. So I thought I'll start fresh on a new one. And guess what? With like no subscribers, it was doing better than the original channel after the original channel's been around for years. And I went, oh, okay, so there was something going on. And now they've just reduced my views by like 95%. Nothing organic about it. Just gone, just almost entirely gone overnight. So literally at this point, if it stays the same, right? So instead of being like, should have been monetized probably in the next couple of months, it would literally take me about 30 years. And that's just overnight. So the algorithm is not going to help out. I don't know. Just go and subscribe to it. Help me out. Go and subscribe. I mean, maybe it'll change. Maybe it's a thing with the algorithm. I don't know. But it ain't organic. I'll tell you that much. Now, on that note, I wanted to show you something else, just to show you how truly pathetic and Orwellian YouTube is. All right, so here's my video. Shocking. Carney partners with China for the New World Order. And what does it say here? There's a warning thing here. Fact check, I guess, from Wikipedia. Super reliable. The New World Order is a term used in conspiracy theories, which speculate about a secretly emerging totalitarian world government. A secretly emerging totalitarian world government. So you might as well just completely disregard my video here on YouTube, right? Just completely disregard it. I mean, what am I talking about? I must be crazy or something. Let's watch like the first seconds of this video.
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
You can't make it up. You couldn't be more Orwellian if you tried. Here, like that's like the first 6 seconds of the video. Mark Carney in China pledging his allegiance to the New World Order. But thankfully, we've got YouTube here to tell us it's all bullshit. Good thing they fact-checked it. This is what we're dealing with, folks. This is what we're dealing with, okay? I mean, it couldn't be more Orwellian if you tried. I mean, it's literally the start of the video is literally got Mark Carney in China saying that Canada's part of the New World Order. So this is what we're dealing with here. This is what we're dealing with. You know what's shocked? That's not even shocking. We all knew who Mark Carney was. What's shocking is this. Good thing they fact-checked the thing that Mark Carney said. Now, if Mark Carney posted this video on YouTube, would they put this here, this disclaimer here as well, to let everybody know that Mark Carney wasn't really saying the thing that he posted himself saying? What do you think of that? Rosie says, maybe you should stop calling them Orwellian. I think that it is a compliment. Well, the thing is, I mean, like, it is literally, like, this is it. Like, this is what's described in the book. I mean, it's just amazing. Just amazing, isn't it? All right, anyway, let's get to the... You couldn't even make it up. All right. So anyway, as everybody knows, we're streaming on Rumble primarily, YouTube, X, and locals. And when you like the stream, you get good karma. But when you like early, especially also when you subscribe to the channel early, you get extra good karma. Extra good karma. So who gets what tonight? Rosie got the first like. That is 6 good karmas. Boom. Boom. Also says lurkers welcome in the chat, or at least hit the like and repost. What? That is so right. She is so right about that. So now what happened? Nevada got 3rd like, so that's 4 good karmas. Wow. 3rd like and you still get 4 good karmas. Wow, that's a lot. He's really set now. How you doing, JJ? Rosie says, yeah, that genetically modified chocolate is disgusting. We're going to take a look at it. Sounds disgusting, and yeah, you know it ain't going to be good for you. Trudeau Survivor says, I think there's an option to hide those narrative banners. I don't think that there is. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says, if you click the drop down on the banner, I think there's an option to never show again. Well, there's not an option for me to do it, is the problem. Steve, how you doing? Good to see you. Says, New World Order, don't believe your lying eyes. Well, that's it. I mean, like, this is like it's right out of the book. Like, right out of the book. It's exactly what he was warning us about. Oh, anyway. Oh, and Rosie got the first like also on YouTube. That's 12 good karmas for Rosie. Wow. Wow, that's very impressive. That's a lot. Rosie's set now. No problems. All right, let me get down to the bottom. Right, should we just get to it? Let's just get to it. All right, so Nick Sortor posted this. Here's JD Vance, and I think he's very effective. It's a totally a different style than Trump, but it's still MAGA. It's a totally different style than Trump, but it's still effective, and it's still ideologically consistent in that the United States is not going to apologize. The United States is a great place. Western civilization is great, right? And also, there's a small matter of the people relying on the United States for defense, perhaps maybe want to stop, perhaps should consider toning down the constant criticism of the United States, considering that they're, they've got considering that they take a lot of responsibility for their own defense. I mean, having troops in their countries, that sort of thing, which is expensive, by the way. But in any case, let's take a look here. So here is JD Vance dealing with an aggressive journalist who's already, it's very performative. Most of these journalists are very performative. They're not really interested in the answer. They're more interested in just performing their, I guess, hatred for Trump, JD Vance, anything remotely conservative. Let's take a look.
Why are you rewarding Putin and punishing your best ally in Europe?
Well, first of all, I'd say there's been no president who's done more, frankly, to ensure that Ukraine survived the invasion of Russia than Donald Trump. As he famously said, Obama gave him sheets, I gave him javelins, and it was those javelins that ensured that Ukraine still has its territorial sovereignty. What he's also said is that he wants...
Let's not forget, too, Starlink helping the Ukrainian army, right? I'm sure that was done in collaboration with the Trump administration.
to pursue an American policy that focus on the interests of the United States. And part of that foreign policy is not to reward Putin or not to punish a country like Poland, which we love. We love Poland. We love the Polish people. No, no, no. What we're trying to do, what our foreign policy is geared towards, is promoting European independence and sovereignty. We want Europe to take more ownership over its own territorial integrity. We want Europe to step up in a big way. Now, I think you said 4,000 troops. We've not reduced the troop levels in Poland by 4,000 troops. What we did is that we delayed a troop deployment that was going to go to Poland. That's not a reduction. That's just a standard delay in rotation that sometimes happens in these situations. But here's the fundamental problem. Poland is capable of defending itself with a lot of support from the United States. We're not talking about pulling every single American troop out of Europe. We're talking about shifting some resources around in a way that maximizes American security. I don't think that's bad for Europe. That's encouraging Europe to take more ownership. The United States cannot be the policeman of the world. We want to be good allies. We want to make sure that our troop presence promotes regional stability in Europe. The president has not said, though he could, the president has not said that he's taken all of the troops out of Europe, but Europe has to stand on its own 2 feet. And that's something that he's been consistent of, frankly, not even since the beginning of this administration, going back to the first administration, is we have got to have more sovereignty and more of Europe standing on its own 2 feet. That will continue to be our policy in Europe.
Those troops will go eventually to Poland?
What I said is that is it a delay in troop rotation? Those troops could go elsewhere in Europe. We could decide to send them elsewhere. We actually haven't made the final determination about where those troops are ultimately going
Well, there's also something going on in the Persian Gulf right now, too. So, I mean,
to go. But what I'm saying is it is not accurate to say that we are pulling a bunch of troops out. It is a very small and very minor thing. And I think, frankly, a lot of the European media, again, is overreacting to this a bit. And here's one thing I'll say about this. Look, I have, for my entire life, I'm 41 years old. For my entire life, I have heard chirping from the European media about everything that's wrong with the United States of America. We don't have this. We don't have that. We don't spend enough on healthcare, even though part of the reason why we spend so much on defense was because we have tens of thousands of troops in Europe. I think that if the European media wants to attack the president of the United States, they need to start looking in the mirror. All he has said is that we're going to be good allies, we're going to be good friends, we're going to be trading partners, but it is reasonable for Europe to take a little bit more ownership over its continental integrity.
So, I mean, and the biggest protection is being part of American nuclear deterrence, right? But there's one other thing. Hold on. I should have looked this up earlier. There's one other thing I just want to check out quickly. Everybody start your PhD thesis while I find this. Mhm. Mhm. Hold on. So there's the little matter of this as well. Several European Union and NATO allies have indeed refused to let the U.S. use their airspace or military bases for operations in the Iran conflict. France, Spain, and Italy actively denied overflight rights and base access, while neutral nations like Austria and Switzerland blocked U.S. military flights to comply with international law and their traditional neutrality policies. So it doesn't seem like there's a really very much gratitude going on there, right? And the United States has had Europe as the major power, obviously, in NATO for many decades now. So stuff like this is going to leave a bad taste. And it's going to create questions of loyalty, like who's loyal to who exactly. The United States is starting to notice something. There's a bad smell in the room. Military recruitment closed, waiting for Americans. Yeah. Let's see. Map showing the only place my taxes should go to. Right there. I think a lot of Americans feel that way. And I think that a lot of people actually in a lot of Western countries, Canada, UK, feel the same way. Like, why is our money being sent around the world for weird woke shit? Like Canada, why is money being sent for literally gender just rice in Asia? How does that make any sense? How is that any of Canada's business? It's not. I contend that gender just rice anywhere is none of Canada's business. All right. Nevada says, in other words, Europe, put up or shut up. Exactly. Let's see. Rosie's saying, this is the first time I've seen, hold on. Let me find it. There we go. I've seen Sandy. We're calling her Sandy, the woman sanding in the special sanding shirt on a 16-inch computer screen gives me a whole new perspective. Very well, very well. Thinking she needs safety goggles. Probably does, but something tells me the video's not really about that. One splinter and you can lose your eyesight in woodworking. That's true. That's true. She needs to get some goggles on. But still no bra. Definitely no bra. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Let's get to the next thing, shall we? So I think we can get actually, hold on. Was there something underneath? Still on the EU for a second. So the Netherlands, this is the second time this has happened there very recently, after Loosdrecht, where 9,000 residents have been blocking for 3 days the forced installation of 110 young male asylum seekers without any local consultation. Apeldoorn is now joining the resistance. The authorities invoke the housing pressure. The locals defend their community and their way of life. The top-down imposition is finally meeting its concrete limits. Yeah, what happens is that they bring these fighting-age males from totally different cultures that have very different attitudes towards women, especially, and things happen, bad things happen, and the media tries to hide it, but it gets around, right? There's social media. That's why they want to censor. They're trying so hard to censor social media there and attacking Elon Musk all the time. Yeah, none of this stuff is grassroots. Like, none of the immigration stuff that's happening to these people is anything they asked for. The grassroots stuff is this here. These people saying, no, okay, no, there's no, they're not the voice of the establishment, these people. These are just actually the people. And I think it's, I think it's going to get bad in Europe. I really do think it is. Like here, driver plowed into a group of pedestrians on a crowded street in central Modena, Italy, injuring 7 people, with 2 in serious condition. Salim El Kudri, an Italian citizen of foreign origin, then fled and stabbed a passerby who tried to stop him. I mean, look, I'm not going to, yeah. He's trying to hit people that, Jesus. Yeah, we're not going to play that. I mean, this is just normal. This is just, a Tuesday in Europe now. It's constant. Most of these just go totally unnoticed now, like in the media. Obviously, mainstream media is not going to talk about it. It would lead people to the wrong conclusion. That would be malinformation, right? True, but, get people thinking in the wrong way. All right, let's get rid of that. Very quickly back to... Let's go back here for a second. Hold on. Let's see. Steve says, shop class was never like this. It really wasn't. JJ Nevada says, Sandy has beautiful, technique? It is. She's not wearing a bra. No, she's not wearing a bra. No. Maybe it is a shirt for raising a newborn. No, it's a sanding shirt. A sanding shirt. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So let's take a look. So the Unite the Kingdom March was held over the weekend in London. And this is just regular British people voicing their displeasure at what the establishment forces have done to them. Both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party over decades now. That's why you see the rise of something like Reform, which at least makes noises of being, more right wing. I think that Restore is the real party for them, led by Rupert Lowe. And I think over the next few years, it'll be very interesting to see if they can actually displace Reform. But in any case, the establishment forces are crumbling in the UK, and this is because they have totally and utterly betrayed the British people. Here's Tommy Robinson. He says, "This is our homeland built by our ancestors, blood, sweat, and tears, and we will not stand by as those in political power give it away. Unite the kingdom." So essentially, the establishment forces have tried to make, they have made British people second-class citizens in their own country. Everything is geared towards pandering to, the new voting blocks that they've brought in. Let's take a quick look.
Looking as the flowers.
Just gonna turn off the volume there. Hold on. So, diverse person. Wait a second. I thought they were all supposed to be white supremacists. Yeah, there's a lot of diverse people at this, but they're people that have embraced the UK and the principles, the things that are being washed away by the globalist establishment voices there. And again, Tommy Robinson is the guy who is the person who, Tommy Robinson is the leader of this essentially. And he is kind of the old stock. There's not many Tommy Robinsons there's not many Tommy Robinsons around anymore. Right? He's kind of that old stock British in terms of, the guys who went and fought in World War II. The guys who founded like the SAS and were like fighting behind enemy lines in North Africa against the Nazis. Like, that's what he is. There's not many like him, unfortunately. But I guess, they're finding out now that maybe there are more people that, there are definitely more people that are listening to his message than the mainstream media ever wanted to admit. It's becoming obvious now with Reform leading in the polls. Tommy Robinson, photojournal stories, interviewed the people at our Unite the Kingdom and Unite the King. Hold on.
I ain't got a good brain.
All right, let me start over. Photojournal stories interviewed the people at our Unite the Kingdom and the West rally on Saturday. Here's just one of the far-right thugs, according to Keir Starmer. Well, yes, Keir Starmer called him a far-right thug. Of course, that's the playbook, right? Everybody who doesn't agree with them, everybody who is not accepting their narrative is a far-right thug, even when it's absurd.
We've got to have borders. Without a border, we don't have a country. Nothing but magnificent, superb, friendly, warm, inviting, hospitable. I've run out of adjectives. I'm here today because I'm very, very worried about the future of this government that's actually turning its own people against each other. I was actually born here. My family moved here from Nigeria to make me a better life. I am very grateful for the United Kingdom. I was actually born in Aldershot, home of the British Army, and I have a great respect for the military. And what he's done to the veterans, that Mr. Starmer, is very, very disappointing. So I'm here to show my respect. I have a young family, and I want them to have a future in the United Kingdom, filled with hope and peace, and not this division this government are currently displaying on this nation. Don't have freedom. We don't have anything. You've seen how this kind of tyrannical government is silencing people for free speech, deplatforming people, and sending people to prison. That's just madness. You would never have thought that, the home of democracy around the world. We've got to have borders. Without border, we don't have a country. We're all for people coming here legally through the right way, like my father did, legally the right way. And he brought up a family, myself.
So he's having a good time and feeling very welcome at the far right racist thug rally. Well, you can see all these racist thugs in the background here, huh? That's just a guy who was born there, embraced British culture, right? And nobody has a problem with that. Let's see. Adam Scott posted this. Here you go. Massive turnout at the Tommy Robinson New Era led Unite the Kingdom rally. Let's take a look. And yeah, there's no sound on this, but look, that's a big crowd. I'm hearing it was smaller than last year, but it's still, I mean, look at this. It's a big crowd. It's a lot of people. I mean, look, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Yep. And peaceful, totally peaceful as well. Look at that. Wow. Wow. Okay, so that's a lot of people. Let's here's some far right thuggery here. Let's see. Table Salt posted this. The cellist is playing with that bacon clip to his shirt. So there's a message there. Related to something they have a bit of a problem with in the UK. Let's take a look. I mean, you see that? I mean, look at this. Look at this far right Asian thug. Hold on, where is he? Look at this thug there, this cellist thug. Wow, he must be a white supremacist. This is the narrative. I mean, let's go to Keir Starmer. Let's go to Keir Starmer and just hear what he says. It's just the usual gaslighting that we've all become accustomed to. Where is he? Here he is. Let's hear Keir Starmer warn about how scary this is. How scary it was going to be.
Tomorrow's march in London is a reminder of what we're up against in the battle of our values. The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and division. Plain and...
He's just lying. He's just lying. And the language there, our values. It's like there's him and then there's all those people there whose voices have not been heard, who have been completely betrayed by just whoever they voted for. Because nobody voted for mass immigration. The message they kept getting every election was, we're going to bring down immigration, bring down immigration. Nobody voted for what was done to them, for the mass infinite immigration.
Simple. Their goal is to convince people that Britain's problems are caused by those living alongside them. But that is...
Why are they showing a bunch of white people there? I mean,
not the Britain that I know. This is a country built on decency, fairness, and respect.
You see, it's two different Englands. It's his England, the establishment, the globalist England, the infinite immigration England. Somebody steps foot on British soil and they're immediately as British as anybody. There's that. And then there's the actual regular people, particularly the working class there. The people who pay to support it all, that pay for him, for all of his programs, for all of his globalist ideas. It's two different countries. And now it's starting to really come to a head. But let's go back to the rally. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, for God's sakes. These bookmarks always get mixed up once you start scrolling through them. Okay, so big crowd. Look at that white supremacist there. That cello playing. Look, how about this? From Janet Murray posted this. Look at this dreadful far-right woman at the Unite the Kingdom rally yesterday. See, now what the way that the left rationalizes this, they'll say that she's internalized white supremacy. Let's take a look.
I'm furious because I'm an ex-military. I was in the RAF for 12 years. I served my country. I'm very proud of my flag. I wear my flag proudly because I was born here in this country, and my parents came over in the 60s and worked hard. They contributed to the economy, and they bought a house and they moved into the suburbs, and it was fantastic. I was born in Whitechapel, yeah, and I wouldn't recognise it now at all. At all. And we moved up to Lincolnshire in the countryside because I'm very horsey. And at the end of the day, this is a Christian country, and this country is just, they've got nowhere else to go. And if all these people come in, and take over the culture, it's not going to be Britain anymore. It's not going to be Great Britain anymore, and we can't have that. And it's not a racist thing. I'm not a racist. You can't call me a racist. But at the end of the day, we have to fight for what it's a spiritual battle, though, guys. This is the thing. We have to come back to Christ. Christ is King, and we must come back to Christ, because at the end of the day, we are a Christian nation. I'm furious because...
See, if they had just rational immigration, right? So not massive spikes driving, property prices through the roof, making it impossible for young people to buy a house and start a family and a little house together. If they had just rational immigration with people like this who just bought in, be no problem. There'd be no Unite the Kingdom rally. That's not what's happened. They've imported colonies of people who hate the UK and the people in it. Not to mention the massive cost of the welfare state because of the groups that have colonized parts of England. You have numbers like 50, 60% who don't work. They'll never work. How about this? G dams. Absolute scandal in England. An NHS nurse, Amy, takes the stage with Tommy Robinson and drops the truth. She was fired for sharing a message written by the government itself on social media. Wow. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Amy. I was simply somebody who worked for the NHS. I was very, very good at my job. I love looking after people. So I became an incredible healthcare who worked with a medical emergency team and with acute medicine. But it all changed one day when I shared a post on Facebook regarding illegal immigration. And the post that I shared was actually from the government, so it's factual. But that day, I lost my job. I was sacked for gross misconduct, and I was called a racist. I am not a racist. I've got friends from every nationality, from everywhere around the world. They all agree I am not a racist. And the man that made me feel proud today, the man in the green beret, stood here, made me... My name is Amy. I was simply somebody who...
So she is a second-class citizen in her own country, right? She has less rights. She is being watched like a hawk by the DEI authorities, the DEI government of the UK, to make sure she doesn't step out of line. She lost her job for reposting something from the government itself. And we throw the word Orwellian around all the time, right? But this is that, right? They post something, then all of a sudden that's an inconvenient history, so it must be erased. Let's get on to the next thing here. So here's Tommy Robinson himself. Eric Doherty posted this. Islamists and leftists are furious after Tommy Robinson gave the perfect answer. Let's take a look.
What would happen if you become a prime minister tomorrow? What would you change?
I would stop Islam. I'd end foreign funding in this country. All the migrants would be taken out of the hotels and sent back tomorrow by the military. I would reverse. I would have remigration. It's time for many Muslims to leave this country if they're not going to integrate or assimilate. It's time to go home. You've got your homes to go to. This is our home. We've got nowhere to go to. We're not allowing it to change any longer. you've seen today, people are fed up, man. People are fed up.
Fed up. National sovereignty, safety and security,
Yeah, we're fed up.
and national identity. What would happen if you become a prime minister tomorrow?
That's what it's come to. And the reason that people are receptive to this is because they never asked for it in the first place. It was done to them by politicians who betrayed them. And now they want it undone. This thing they never consented to. There'll be a lot of people in other countries like Canada, for instance, and the United States regarding immigration, stuff that they never consented to. So that's why Tommy Robinson is a very, very strong voice, because he's just speaking truth, you know? Hold on a second. Oh, here's something else from John Fonseca. I don't know how you say that, but a total scandal in the United Kingdom. The sick left is boiling with rage as Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally turned into a truth explosion. Well, let's take a look. What's going on here?
Hello, London!
So, you know, this is commenting on the fact that there's a lot of these like burqas around in the UK, in London especially, but all over the UK. And the amazing thing is, if you don't understand the modern left, is, you know, why wouldn't feminists be really concerned if this were like, I don't know, Christians, Mormons or something, forcing women to cover themselves from head to toe publicly in large numbers, right? They would be losing their freaking minds. But with this, they're just fine with it, right? And the thing you have to understand about it is that with the modern left, there's no issues actually matter, right? And consequences don't matter, and outcomes don't matter, right? So for feminists, it's just an oppressed and oppressor narrative. The same with everything else, right? Same with Gaza, with that, whatever, right? You've got a group that has been identified as the oppressed, and then you have the group that's the oppressor, which is just basically British people, Europeans, white people, right? Automatic oppressor. So that overrides everything. The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution, right? So in any case, yeah, I mean, I understand why these women would see this all over their country and feel some fear, especially when you've got imams saying that they want to put them in those bags as well. That it's for everybody in the future when they take over. That should be a frightening thing for any woman. Let's see. Hold on. Let's go down a little bit more. Okay, we did that. We did this. Oh, yeah. In the UK, having negative views on immigration and Islam is treated as far-right extremism and terrorism by the U.S. government. Gov UK, terrorist ideologies, cultural nationalism, Western culture is under threat from mass migration and a lack of integration by certain ethnic and cultural groups. Certain. There's a certain one. This is how you get giant rallies like Unite the Kingdom, when your own government hates you. Free speech has not been banned in the UK, and we will arrest anyone who says it has. That's Keir Starmer. Yeah, the fact that these people will so blatantly lie. He talks about free speech, and they're very proud of free speech in the UK. while arresting, like what, 13,000 people for things they said on the internet. Here we are. If you want to know who the extremists are, we found them. Here, they're far leftists. London, May 16th. Far left extremists chanted for the murder of Tommy Robinson at their counter protest. Posted by Andy No. In the morning. So these are the counter protesters. These are the empathetic leftists. Shoot him in the neck like Charlie Kirk. What did Keir Starmer say again? Hold on. Where was he? Hold on. Where was Keir Starmer again? Let's see. Where was he? He was down here. He is. What did he say again? He was warning about all those evil people that were going to be at the rally.
Tomorrow's march in London is a reminder of what we're up against in the battle of our values. The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and division.
Well, I didn't see any of that, but I saw the people that I assume would be supporting you calling for Tommy Robinson's assassination. So it's all upside down world, right? It's just constant lies and illusions. And it just never damn well ends. Hold on. Give me another second. It's not my fault. It's X's fault. It's X's fault. Hold on. Let's see. Did we have anything else here I wanted to show you? Yeah, Keir Starmer. Today, the voices of division will be loud. They don't speak for the country I know, the one that belongs to all of us. That's our Britain, a Britain worth fighting for. Yes, and your supporters want political assassinations. Sure. I think we're starting to get a good idea of what your values are. People like you and say Mark Carney say. Oh yeah, of course, Keir Starmer banned foreign journalists from England to stop. Of course, Keir Starmer banned foreign journalists from going to it. There was a bunch of them, I think 8 or 9, including Ezra Levant from Rebel News from Canada. Mario Nawfal. Tommy Robinson put up a slideshow of world leaders at today's Unite the Kingdom rally in London. EU leaders booze. Then Trump's face appeared. Thousands of British people started chanting, USA, USA. That's because Trump stands up for the West, is why. He stands up for Western civilization.
Why? US!
And why? Why does he get that reaction? Because he says it's your country and your government is betraying you. That's why.
Let me hear it. USA! 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 Let me tell you why. I've just got back from America, okay? I was shown so much love there. Let me tell you why it's important. Why that man is important as well. Every single time, there is a higher power that is working right now in this movement, in everything that's happening. Every single time I'm in a corner or I've been knocked down, something picks me up every single time. In 2024, I think, I was in Spain. I was in a very dark place. Liam Tufts was out babysitting me, pretty much. Liam travelled out there, spent months with me, trying to pick me up because I was lost. At that time that I was lost, Elon Musk bought X. He turned my account back on. That was a moment when I was down. He picked us up as a nation and said, go get them. Wake up your country. Unite your people. Let me tell you a story when we went to the United States recently, okay? I went there 6 weeks before the event. We thought we had secured funding for this event, yeah? We've had to beg, okay? We thought we'd received funding for this event. Then we got the knockback that money wasn't coming. We had 6 weeks to go. Richard Inman, if you're here, I'm sorry. To my team, I'm sorry. I ranted and I raved. I've just walked in there to my team, to Aidan, who's put a lot of this together, and I've given him a fist bump because I have been stressed, I have been ranting, I've been probably a nightmare to be around. Right? But that's what it was like in America. I found out one day that we didn't look like we had the money. So I've gone in a group chat and I've said, why are you all moaning about what people are saying online? We haven't even got an event. We've got no screens. We've got no event. It's not going to have the effect. The momentum is not going to be there. I travelled that day to Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. 15 years ago at the start of the English Defence League, there was a gentleman called Bjorn who was from Canada. And he set a meeting up with me in London. And 5 state senators flew over from the United States. This is 15, 16, 17 years ago. And I met a gentleman there. And his name was Andy Miller. A very nice man. I met him multiple times. We went out for dinner. And as I was in America, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go see Andy Miller. So I'd arranged to meet him for nothing other than dinner. Yeah? We find out one day there's no funding. We think we're lost on the event. 6 weeks to go to the biggest event we've put on. I fly into Nashville, Tennessee. I go to dinner with this gentleman, Andy Miller, his wife, and some friends. And I sat there and laid my heart out. I said, we are building something that we've built for years. The country's ready, they're awake. And we're fucked, okay? We can't put the event on. I sat there, do you know what he gave? 200, he sat there, he'd had a few beers, yeah? He'd had a few beers. He said, Tommy, I'll give you £200,000 for your event. And I knew he'd had a few beers. And I was like, Andy, I didn't go there for that, yeah? That is a higher power, okay? The next day, I said, that's Jesus, okay? Andy Miller is a devout, staunch Christian, okay? Now, it went from that meeting, I went straight in the group chat and said, it's fucking on. It's on. We're putting on this event. We're going to succeed in this event. Andy messaged me the next day. He must have woke up with a hangover. And I was thinking, is he really going to give this money? He was pretty drunk, yeah? I thought, is he going to give this money? And he texted me, he said, did I agree to £200,000 or $200,000? I said, Andy, just what? He said, I'm going to send you $200,000 to the tech company, these guys. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Get the...
So, yeah. And Tommy Robinson, by the way, they've put him through hell. They politically persecuted him for years now, thrown him in prison multiple times. He's constantly under jihads, basically, death threats. He's a national hero for the UK. An enemy number one for the government. Let me just see if there's one more thing before we move on. And hold on. Hold on. Was there one more thing I wanted to say? So on another issue here, Nurseries urged to report racist toddlers' hate crimes to police. Oh boy, this is in the UK. Catherine Porter posted this. Let's go to the article. Hold on. Good Lord. Actually, you know what? It's behind a paywall, and we've spent a lot of time with the UK. But let's hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me just check something out if we can find this somewhere else. Okay. Mm-hmm. 1 second. Where is that? Oh my God. It's actually real. Hold on. Be there 1 second. What is going on? Okay, how about this one? Let's go back. You know what? Hold on. Just give me a second, you guys. 1 second. All right, hold on. Here we go. All right. So it's actually real. Like, this is how you get 500,000 people out to a rally when your government is doing this. Nurseries are being urged to report racist toddlers to police in labor-backed guidance from 1 week ago. Nursery workers have been advised to call police and report young children for racist incidents in hate crime guidance issued to early years providers in Wales. This is how you get a massive rally against the government. The taxpayer-funded report on creating an anti-racist culture among toddlers advises staff to call 999 and implement lockdown procedures in an emergency. Lockdown procedures. You might have a toddler, I guess, baby Hitler emergency at the nursery. And by the way, anti-racist culture, that doesn't mean what it sounds like. That means an actually racist culture. Racist against the white children, the white toddlers, right? Anti-racism is actively being racist. Nurseries, playgroup leaders, and childminders should call 101 for non-emergencies, for the non-emergency toddler racisms, to discuss the incident with an officer and take relevant action. Childcare workers are also encouraged to record all details of the incident and consider any other relevant actions, such as informing their local council. This is insanity. This is far-left extremism. There's no other word for it. Total lunacy. And again, if you want to wonder how you get crowds like this out in opposition to the government, start doing stuff like that. And do it over and over again, and do it for decades, and have it keep getting worse and worse and worse and more humiliating and more humiliating. Make it more and more clear that, in fact, the citizens of your country, the indigenous people of the UK, are second-class citizens. It's totally insane. Let's go back to the chat for a second. All right, maybe I should see if there's any ad reads I want to do. What do we got? Maybe I'll do a Trinova Health one. Why not? All right, people. Access Med, powered by Trinova Health, is a revolutionary telehealth service that offers fast, free online evaluations and free home delivery of customized, compounded medications, offering custom weight loss support, ivermectin therapy, hair restoration, cosmetic rejuvenation, custom ED treatments, wink, wink, and more. You can complete your visit in less than 10 minutes, and there's no subscriptions or recurring fees ever. We've made getting started easier than ever. Simply follow the link. It's so simple. Choose the product or treatment you're interested in, and then complete a quick online evaluation. Now, within days, your custom meds will arrive at your door. Mention Rumble in the coupon code and get yourself 10% off your first treatment. You know what to do. Beautiful, beautiful. Best 51 cents I've ever made. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. What are we talking about? Rosie says, amazing number of attendees. That's for the Unite the Kingdom rally. That's a shitload of people, JJ Nevada says. Bacon suspenders. Rosie says, Rosie appreciates the bacon suspenders. Nevada says, I wish they would vote his pathetic commie ass out of office. Well, the next election's not for like 3 years in the UK, unfortunately. Nevada says, crusade time. Well, the Crusades were always a response to Islamic aggression and invasion. Rosie says, I hope they do not have Dominion voting machines. Oh, God knows. Labor's probably buying them as fast as they can get them. Let's see. Nevada says, never back down. The crowd looks a wee bit smaller. It was apparently a bit smaller. But I think that, that first one was kind of a special moment, and now they're starting to see some hope. Maybe it's false hope with reform, but they're starting to see some hope there happening. So maybe that affects it a little bit. Most of what I know of the issues comes from Tommy, as he says. Yeah, Tommy is, well, yeah, he's been very influential around the world. But yeah, I mean, he was really the spark. He was the first one to bring up these issues that nobody wanted to talk about, like the grooming gangs. Rosie asks, toddler hate crimes? That's how crazy it is. They're targeting toddlers. This is the empathetic left. Tommy's very informative, JJ says. I agree. Let's see. Not informing the parents, informing the council. Of course. It's got to be total 100% government control over everything. Izzy says custom meds are the best kind of meds. I agree. Rosie says great ad read, great products. Needs more commie hate. 9.1 out of 10. That is still the most you can get out of 10, I believe. I know there's some ones that I just, I hesitate to throw in just ad lib commie hate into them. I don't want to lose that 51 cents, Rosie. Izzy says there was a lack of commie hate. I know. I apologize. I fear it's only worth 10 out of 1776. Well, I believe that is the most you can get out of 1776. So, it's still pretty good, right? Still pretty good. Anybody watching on YouTube, go and subscribe to the new channel. This channel is getting crushed. I've lost like 95% of my views. It was going great for like 8 months. The second channel, and just overnight, boom, 95% more, probably 98% of my views just gone overnight. Because I guess I'm talking about the wrong things. Go over there and subscribe. There's 325 videos. Help me out. Help a brother out. Yeah, please do that. That would be awesome. Now, what are we doing? All right. Let's talk about Canada for a minute. So, Undersecretary of War, Elbridge Colby. So here's a message from the United States to Canada. And the United States is not very happy with Canada. I think it's not really Canada they're not happy with. It's Mark Carney. And maybe the whole, going around the world giving anti-American speeches and, idiotic speeches at Davos, like about Canada somehow leading a middle power revolt against the United States, and we're against the hegemons, but also Mark Carney's going to China and pledging allegiance to the Chinese New World Order. All of this stuff is bad, bad. And I could see how this would become a problem for the states. Not that the way that this all began with the tariffs and the, governor, of the 51st state, all that stuff, that was also totally counterproductive. But Canada has, but Mark Carney has responded in an extremely unproductive way as well, and it's just getting worse at this point. He says a strong Canada that prioritizes hard power over rhetoric benefits us all. Unfortunately, Canada has failed to make credible progress on its defense commitments. The Department of War is pausing the Permanent Joint Board on Defense to reassess how this forum benefits shared North American defense. This has existed for like 80 years. What is the Permanent Joint Board on Defense? It is the senior advisory body on continental military defense in North America. This board was created in 1940 by Canada and the United States under the Ogdensburg Agreement signed by President Franklin Roosevelt and Prime Minister Mackenzie King a long time ago. So essentially, yeah, it's an advisory body. It's a way for the United States and Canada to cooperate on shared goals, shared defense goals. And they are pausing that for now because they are very displeased with what the Carney government is doing. And I think for some fairly obvious reasons. Let's see. We can no longer avoid the gaps between rhetoric and reality. Real powers must sustain our rhetoric with shared defense and security responsibilities. So here it's a link to Mark Carney's ridiculous, hypocritical Davos speech. And of course, they noticed. Of course, the Trump administration noticed that. I said at the time this was an idiotic speech and it was stupid and this was not going to help. It's almost as if Carney is trying to actually permanently destroy our relationship with the states. It's truly bizarre. So the, pardon me. So liberal commentary in Canada immediately said, well, this is weird after we just met our 2% spend. This is weird after we just spent our 2% GDP on defense. Or, God damn it, my brain. The leftist commentators immediately came out with like, well, we just met our 2%, up to 2% GDP spending on defense. So, what's this all about? It's like, yeah, but not really, though. I mean, the thing is that you can say that, but they're going to notice. They're going to notice. They're going to look into it. Like they're not just going to take your word for it, right? And it's a little more complicated than we're spending a bunch of extra money on the military. For one thing, where is that money going? But let's take a look. Hold on. What do we have here? Canada achieves the 2% of gross domestic product defense spending benchmark. So let's take a little bit of a deeper look. In addition to investments in the CAF, many federal departments and agencies contribute to capabilities that support defense objectives, including cyber intelligence, maritime security, and support to veterans. So this means that they've done some accounting tricks and just moved stuff into the military that was already there, but not counted as part of the military to fake their way to the 2% spending. Over $14 billion in spending from other government departments contributed to Canada's defense expenditures. So, yeah, it's 63 billion, 14 billion of that from other government departments. So this is just accounting tricks, right? Let's see. Key contributors include Veterans Affairs Canada, which wasn't part of military spending before, Communications Security Establishment, Global Affairs Canada. They're the ones who send unbelievable amounts of money, billions of dollars around the world for things like gender just rice in Vietnam or wherever it was. Reflecting the broad scope of Canada's defense and security activities. The broad scope, yes, so they're broadening it out, right? So basically anything can count as that. Did I have anything else highlighted down here? I don't think so. Okay. Yeah, so it's accounting tricks. It's moving stuff that wasn't counting as military into military, and that does not make us stronger. That does not give us any more hard power. I thought we'd take a look at what's actually going on with national defense. So here's Canadian government website, Government of Canada, National Defense. Of course, it's got a big diversity, equity, and inclusion thing. Of course. How much money goes into diversity, equity, and inclusion and the bureaucracy that supports it in the military? Well, you can't really find out anywhere. Probably for the obvious reason that it would be embarrassing. But you got stuff like positive space program, safe and all about a safe and inclusive work environment. This is a big deal. Of course, LGBTQ, blah, 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 blah. Gender-based analysis plus national defense. Combating systemic racism and racial discrimination in the defense team. If these are the obsessions, you're not going to have an effective military. You're going to just have a bunch of Marxist workshops. I mean, call to action on anti-racism, equity, blah, 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 of course. Let me show, hold on a second. What was it I was looking for? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. All right. Oh, okay. I want to show you something else here. I want to show you our top general, Canada's top general. And she says that Canada is ready for war. All right. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the United States would see this and think Canada's not a serious country. They're not serious about national defense. Here she is crying on national television.
I apologize to every CAF member, veteran who experienced racism, discrimination, and harassment. And I acknowledge we failed you. I apologize to...
So there you have it. That's the top general in the country crying on camera over how racist the military in Canada is, which I don't believe, by the way, right? But when you got, DEI, racism bureaucracies everywhere, they got to find some. Even if it did exist. Do you really want a general who cries publicly? What kind of a message does that send? What does that do to troop morale? That this is their leader? It is pathetic. First thing Carney should have done was fire this woman and put somebody competent. If you're crying on camera, you're not competent to be the top military person in the country. Very sorry. And again, let's see. I mean, we're seeing what the military in Canada is obsessed with. Of course it is. Every institution that gets infected and parasitized by the woke mind virus, by this radical progressivism, whatever its purpose was before, now it's about the mind virus. And this stuff should have no place in the military. None. It's just, this is political. This is politics. Systemic racism class action. What's this? What do we have here? Archived. This page will not be updating it. What was this? So this is national defense. So the Maple Leaf. What is the Maple Leaf? The Maple Leaf is the official digital news source for the Canadian Armed Forces and the Department of National Defense. And I want to remind everybody, we're never criticizing the people that are actually going to be put into harm's way. We're criticizing the leadership. So what is this? Systemic racism class action. So this is what the Army is busy doing. This is what they've been busy doing, okay? This is what the Canadian military has been busy with. On January 10th, 2025, the federal court approved the final settlement agreement in the class action for current and former members of the Canadian Armed Forces who experienced racial discrimination and/or racial harassment in connection with their military service. And if you think that there was any objectivity involved in this whatsoever, I highly, highly doubt it. We know how this works with woke institutions. This is what's been going on. Did this get added onto our NATO GDP spend as well? Probably. Probably. Let's see. What do we got here? Search Department of National Defense and the Canadian Armed Forces. So I just put in DEI. What do we got? A non-performative approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Insights from the Lifting as You Lead. Insights from the Lifting as You Lead Mentoring Circles program. What? A non-performative approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Insights from the Lifting. This is what money is being spent on. This is 2023. Nothing's changed, by the way. What else do we have here? Let's see. Here, diversity, equity, inclusion. Programs in the Department of Defense studies, final assessment, blah, blah, blah. DEI, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Officer, RMC, anti-racist, anti-oppressive, diversity, equality, and inclusion. None of this is anti-racist. None of this is actually anti-racist. This is all just politics. We know at this point now, this is all just Marxism. What's going on here? Royal Military College of Canada, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Officer. I am aware of my white privilege and many biases that come with it. I am aware of my white privilege and many biases that come with it. I am driven to revert power imbalances and utilize equity. Why does this have anything to do with the Canadian military? This is insanity. You do this if you want to just lose wars. And as a co-founder for Feminist Data and Research, a Canadian social enterprise aimed at solving the problem of reliable knowledge production oh, God, on the African continent and globally. What the fuck does this have to do with anything? This should have no place in the Canadian military. It's insanity. It's political. Ask me anything. Neurodiversity is diversity. DEI strategies, blah, blah, blah. Initiating DEI practices. This is all national defense. Look, national defense. I mean, it's just total and utter madness. Anyway, let's go back to this one because I think actually, here we go. So again, Search Department of National Defense and Canadian Armed Forces. I searched up racism. Guess what? There's 612 search results for racism. This is what the military has been forced to be fixated on. This stuff. This happens to every institution that is parasitized by the woke mind virus every single time. October 3rd, 2025, discrimination and racism. This is a national defense thing. That's Carney, October 2025. January 28th, 2025, CAF, systemic racism class action. It just goes on. Anti-racism toolkit under national defense. Anti-racist organization. Yeah, I mean, what? This doesn't fill you. I mean, anybody from the States, anybody from the Trump administration, looking at this would not be filled with confidence or Canada's even intention to be to really fulfill its obligations in serious ways. What's going on here? Let's see. And of course, it's not just about the military spending. It's about everything. I mean, the Chinese cars are the Chinese EVs, the spy cars, the exploding spy cars, the Chinese suicide pod spy cars are seen as a national security threat. It's not just it's not just weapons, right? It's also, too, I mean, it's also intelligence. It's national security on the level of, do you have a bunch of Chinese spies? Do you have a bunch of Chinese spy cars going around everywhere? These are also important issues.
Prime Minister pivoted into a strategic partnership with a country that only runs trade surpluses. And then they signed what I believe is still a secret MOU with the Ministry of Public Security, the MPS, China's MPS. The purpose of the MPS is to hunt the Chinese diaspora in your country, in our country. They ran what's called Operation Fox Hunt. American Olympic gold medalist Elisa Liu was one of the victims of Operation Fox Hunt. They were tracking her father because her father had been a leader in the Tiananmen times before he fled the country. They were trying to force her to actually skate for China. And so your prime minister signed a secret MOU with our mortal enemy. And so if you look at the United States, you look at Trump, prime minister pivoted into a...
Now, the closer that Canada gets to China, right, and the New World Order, the more Canada becomes a security threat. The more Canada becomes a security threat to the United States. So, if we're going to be having high-level defense talks, well, all of a sudden, sensitive issues, you may not want to discuss those with representatives from a country that's been totally infiltrated by your enemy, which is China, the country that says openly that they want to displace the United States as the global hegemon. Like, it's perfectly rational to say, yeah, we're not doing that. Like, we don't trust you. I mean, really, does it just come down to an issue of trust? Let's see. Ryan Garrettson posted this. Gee, I wonder why the Pentagon walked away from the Canada-U.S. Defense Board. The media all day has even tried pretending to be naive as to why. Well, they know exactly why. It's this man right here who has been for a year purposefully sabotaging our relationship. Well, let's take a look.
The days of our military sending 70 cents of every dollars to the United States are over.
For one thing, that's idiotic, because every morning forever, we're going to wake up right next door to the United States. We're always going to be there. We're in the most enviable position in the world, by the way. Any country would change places with us. But if you're going to have what would make absolute sense is to have integration between the militaries, which means that it's the same machines, it's the same tanks, planes, right, that can be easily maintained. Like, you can easily get parts back and forth across the border, as opposed to, say, if you buy Swedish planes, if a plane breaks down, it becomes much more difficult to fix it, right? Just down to compatibility between the weapons, right? Ammunition, for instance, it makes perfect sense. Not doing that is idiotic.
The progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
By the way, look at Scott Moe there, the Premier of Saskatchewan. He didn't see that coming. Mark Carney didn't tell him about that. Watch his expression.
Sets us up well for the new world order.
What? He didn't tell me he was going to say that. Carney is saying this in China. Here he is supplicating himself to the Chinese Communist Party. That's what this is. This should have been reported as a deep, deep humiliation. Of course it wasn't, because the media adores Mark Carney, right? And they want him to be prime minister forever and just keep giving them more and more money. But this was a deeply humiliating moment for Canada, and that's exactly how it will be seen in China, by the way, because clearly it ain't a Canadian-led New World Order, obviously. But stuff like this might make planners in the United States say, are we even sure we can trust our secrets with this guy, like sensitive information? You would have to ask the question, would you not?
Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over.
We recognize that the relationship that Canada has had with the United States, one that for more than 40 years has been based on steadily deepening integration, is over.
From free trade deal through to CUSMA, deepening integration in military aspects. And that process of deepening integration is over. The old relationship we had with...
I don't know whether or not he is this delusional regarding Canada's geopolitical reality. And he is aware, and he's just lying for political gain. Either way, I mean, it's terrible, is it not? Just terrible. So it keeps getting worse. This was the guy who was supposed to know how to deal with men like Trump, and he was going to get his, all the tariff stuff sewn up by July 1st last year, and everything has just gotten worse. Tariffs are worse. And in fact, our standing in the world is worse. He may go to Davos and make his idiotic speech, and then all the other globalists can clap together. The middle power leaders can all clap and say how clever he is, and then completely ignore everything in the speech and buy up as much American oil and natural gas as they can get their hands on. I mean, Carney's being made, he's being made a fool. He's making a fool of himself. And this will, I imagine, continue as long as he's still prime minister. Yeah, Pentagon suspends 86-year Canada-U.S. Defense Board, citing Ottawa's failure to make commitments, indirect rebuke of Carney's Davos speech. And again, you have to ask, is it also a matter of trust? Do they just not trust Canada anymore to discuss sensitive issues with? I think you have to ask that question. I mean, nothing has been done about China's interference in our last, at least 3 elections. Nothing has been done about it. In fact, it's getting worse. Carney's going to China and getting on his knees and supplicating himself and talking about how Canada is part of their New World Order. Of course, it's perfectly rational to say the Canadian government is compromised. We have to be careful what we tell them, because it's going to go straight to China. I mean, it's actually shocking beyond belief. Let's see. Oh, yeah, tree planting counts for our 2% GDP spending for NATO as well. So, it's all just insane. Anyway, now I can get rid of all these tabs. Let's get rid of these tabs. And we'll go to the chat, shall we? Good Lord. Good Lord. All right. But I'm the problem, you see, because here on YouTube, my video that I put out, I don't know, it's a while ago now, Carney partners with China for the New World Order, has a warning on it saying that, it's just a conspiracy theory. Just a conspiracy theory. So from Wikipedia, of course, here, that's who YouTube uses here. To let the people know, don't bother watching this video because it's all just a conspiracy theory, this New World Order thing. Meanwhile, the first 5 seconds of the video,
I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
don't pay any attention to what Mark Carney himself just said on camera in China. Don't pay any attention to that. Wikipedia says it's all bullshit. The question I have to ask is, if Mark Carney posted this video himself onto YouTube, would they put this up? Contradicting him using his own words on camera? Would Mark Carney, if Mark Carney started a YouTube channel and put this up, would they still put that banner there? I mean, it is the definition of Orwellian at this point. Total insanity. All right. Let's go back to the chat. Boy, I'm really going to struggle in the editing to do these clips and make myself sound coherent. Let's see. You have the wrong opinion, so glad Google is there to save us from wrong opinions. Exactly. Spambot, how you doing? An hour late, but I'm here. Good to see you. Let's see. Catching up at 2 times from the start. Let's see. Rosie says, I can summarize for you. Richie, blah, 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 blah. Rosie, JJ Trudeau, and Izzy say, great comments. Richie, blah, 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 blah. LOL. The cruelest chat on the internet, I tell you. I tells you. Oh, and ad rate as well. Don't forget that. Richie, Nevada says, Richie Moore, rate juice. Oh, Nevada says, you have one job, lady. Kill. Talking about our top general in the military who cries on camera on national television. It's absolutely pathetic. Izzy says, say what? Carney is cooking the books and robbing us blind. How could that be? But he's a globalist banker. You forgot technocrat. Rosie says, demonic. Let's see. Now you guys are just talking about booze. I'll just skip down. Izzy says, Wish's rule was over, Carney. Yeah, we got him for 3 years. 3 more years. Let's see. Izzy says his standing in the world is doing great. I don't think that it is. I think he's probably viewed by the other middle power leaders with some amusement. You know, they just prod him on to keep making these idiotic speeches and saying these idiotic things. Meanwhile, they do the exact opposite. Turtle says, Canada should not be our asset. There needs to be some change. We love you, Canadians, but the government there sucks. Ours was going that way. You know, the thing is about that last election in 2024, it's not like Trump won by 20 million votes. He won by what, like 1 million at the end? He won by like 1 point or 1.5 points or something. And he was running against Kamala, however you say her name. He was running against a drunk lady, a drunk communist lady who knows literally nothing about anything and couldn't get through an interview. That's terrifying. That is terrifying. That's scary. You know, like you have one election where there's just not as much enthusiasm and you'll end up with President AOC. It's scary. It is scary. Right? Then that's the whole world is fucked after that. Right? Because, you know, what do they say? When the United States sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. Well, President AOC, the rest of the world's going to catch bubonic plague. So, you know, it's a constant across the Western world, unfortunately. And if AOC gets the nomination in 28, she'll get 47% of the vote, minimum. Minimum, it'll be close. It'll be within a couple of points. It's a worldwide problem at this point, certainly across the Western world, certainly across the Anglosphere. But you guys did manage to pull it out, to your credit. And I covered that election. We did like 7 hours covering that election, and it was a lot of fun, actually. And also, we called it. We called it correctly. How did we call it? We went to the 2 polls that were the most accurate in the last couple of elections. And we said, what do they say? And we canceled out all the noise from all the bullshit polls. So we weren't surprised. Izzy says, those content warnings is how I know it's a good video. Yeah. The purpose of them is to stop people from watching it, though. That is the purpose. Nevada says, 3 years, you might not have a country that long. Well, I refuse to be blackpilled. I refuse. I think we can save the country. We have to try. There's no other option. And maybe enough Canadians will wake up. I don't know. Rosie says, explain, please, how does the left hate straight white men and they have Starmer, Carney, and Trugina as their spokespeople? Trugina. It's because there's no real principles to it, right? It's about what feels progressive and power and getting it. So whoever can get the power, but will do the woke things. That's all that matters. Nevada makes a great point here, though. He says, Rosie, it's because they're retards. And he's right. Frozen retards. Although they're thawing out now. Let's see. Turtle says, liberal white women have white fathers, and I just don't understand why they hate their fathers. But I would go down to the Department of Education. All the elites were raised by nannies from foreign countries, so this plays a big part of it. Probably, actually, yeah. Rosie says, just for your information, today is JDL's birthday, and there are only 219 days until Christmas. Well, do we have JDL in here? Is JDL in the chat? Are you there, JDL? We're going to do a special best person birthday best person ever for you if you're in. So, but I'm not seeing JDL here. Well, if JDL comes in, you guys tell me, and we'll do a special birthday best person ever. It'll be fun. Let's see. What do we got going on here? All right. So, Chris Ryan posted this. Finally, a Canadian MP with a spine. So here's Michael Chong. He's a conservative MP in Canada. And he's in Taiwan right now meeting the government there, even though Mark Carney promised his master, Chairman Xi in China, that no Canadian politicians would go to Taiwan because that's not cool. He doesn't approve of it, right? But the conservatives, I think quite rightly, and this is something that makes me proud to support the Conservative Party, are going anyway. Even though Mark Carney promised his boss in China that Canadians would go. Well, the Liberals aren't going. They're not allowed to go. They have to supplicate. The Liberal Party knows it has to supplicate itself to the Chinese Communist Party, and they're super happy to do that. Michael Chong just told the CCP exactly what every real common sense Canadian is thinking. We do not take direction from a foreign government about where Canadian MPs can travel internationally. He's in Taiwan right now meeting President Lai, asserting sovereignty and standing with a thriving democracy while Beijing throws a tantrum. No more kowtowing, no more weakness. This is what leadership looks like. Well done, Michael. Canadians have your back. I have his back. And but there's going to be more kowtowing. Of course, the Liberals are in power, right? Of course, there'll be more Chinese interference in our country as well. We do not take direction from a foreign government about where Canadian MPs can travel internationally. Good. Something that's not totally disgusting. Let's see. Canada's federal police will not guarantee that information on Canadian citizens won't be shared with China's police, which logically includes their intelligence agency. This was posted by Jason James, and he's reposting from Blacklock's reporter. It won't say whether PM's China Security Pact includes transfer of personal info of Canadians to Beijing police implicated in torture and other atrocities. Well, this is how they control the Chinese diaspora, to get them to do what they want in foreign countries like Canada, the US, right? Or they threaten their families. And of course, the Liberals know this and don't care. Mark Carney knows this, does not care. I think he's got business interests in China that he cares about more. All right. So anyway, it's not looking good. Go back to the chat for a second. Let's see. Hold on a sec. All right. Well, let's just keep going. Mark Carney, China. Let's get rid of that. All right. So, so I made a video about this where the CBC funded American far leftists to come together to film a production. They called it a prank show, which is really just activism, far left activism, to humiliate Canadians, Canadian conservatives, Canadians that don't hate John A. Macdonald. This was a really important thing for the CBC to spend Canadian tax dollars on. Now, it turns out that, and here's from Lindsay Shepherd. Lindsay Shepherd posted this. She was one of the victims of this hoax, of this scam, this political action. She says they have paused production on the vengeful CBC APTN prank show so that the CBC can renew. God, my brain. It's a brain problem, people. So that the CBC can review the footage that is being filmed so far. The CBC must be honest with themselves about what this project is: a vehicle to shame people in certain careers like policing and ridicule people with heterodox views, all using taxpayer dollars. When they decide to proceed with this show, when they decide to proceed with the show or not, I call on CBC to release a thorough statement telling us what exactly they saw in the footage they reviewed once they have done so. Speaking for myself, I don't mind if they air it. I know the hatefulness of the producers will reveal itself. So Brian Lilly reported on this, that the CBC is hitting the pause button on this so-called satirical show that targeted Mounties and conservatives for humiliation. Think about this. Not very elbows up of the CBC, is it? To hire hire American far leftists to do this to Canadians, and Canadians have to pay for it. I mean, who are the people that they hired? These guys, the main guy, calling himself Mike Smith, but that wasn't his real name. He's part of the Yes Men. Well, what do the Yes Men do? It says here, there's a low-risk way to fight fascism. Fascism, they say. So fascists like who? Like Lindsay Shepherd? Who are the fascists? Retired RCMP officers that they tricked? Like this author here? Here's Frances Widdowson. Is she a fascist? Is she a fascist? Where's Lindsay Shepherd? There's Lindsay Shepherd. Is she a fascist? Let's listen to all this fascistness.
There was no sense of lightheartedness in this. There was no sense of joviality. This was about revenge. And Frances also said she saw the same thing, the hatred in their eyes, the people at that studio, like just pure hatred.
It always seems like the people throwing around words like fascist that tend to be a lot more fascisty than the people they're accusing, doesn't it? Let's see. What else we got here? They're hijinks. Let's see. It says hijinks here. Let's take a look at the hijinks. So, WTF is ICE doing? Have you seen us? So here's a bunch of pictures, I guess, of people associated with ICE or that have helped ICE or that are in ICE. And by the way, there have been assassination attempts. And anybody knows what the consequences of revealing these people's identities are, of revealing images of them. Right? It's a very dangerous thing to do. These are far left extremists here. Okay? These are people against, I guess, immigration law. And they're here to fight fascism, fight fascists, like Lindsay Shepard, who wrote a children's book about John A. MacDonald. But in any case, so the CBC has now paused this project. I'd be amazed if it ever sees the light of day. Let's hear some more commentary on this from the food professor. Not food-related post. This is likely one of the most sickening things I've seen the CBC do. Read the story below. Well, let's take a look. Lindsay Shepard posted this. The CBC prank show deception scandal is getting so much worse. The producers, operating under fake identities, fake company names, with fake websites, told a number of RCMP veterans, people who dedicated their lives to serving on the front lines, that they were invited to film for a show called Life After Service. A ceremony to thank them for their service would follow, and they were told dignitaries would be present. This would take place at the CBC Vancouver studio. They were told to come in uniform. When the RCMP vets arrived at the CBC Vancouver studio on March 25th and 26th, the pranksters, which are actually far-left Americans, took their phones away, which they claimed was CBC Vancouver studio policy. So these are a bunch of retired people. The former RCMP officers were also placed in front of an audience of what they were told were about 24 journalists, and it was sprung on them that this was a live broadcast with media availability afterwards. Then the producer switched up the whole session to not be about life after service, but the historical wrongs committed by the RCMP against Indigenous peoples, to berate these vets for being part of the RCMP. It's unbelievably twisted and sick. This is, I call it far left extremism. That's what this is. There is so much more, but I am hoping the individuals targeted in this elaborate scheme will be able to share their stories themselves. Seriously, what even sounds remotely funny or silly about this concept? It's just sick and cruel. They know nothing about these vets, these retired RCMP officers. They know nothing about them. They don't care. They're ideologues. They're the oppressor class. They were the police, therefore oppressors. So try and humiliate a bunch of retired cops. And the CBC hired American far leftists to do this. Again, not very elbows up. Food professor goes on. One of the RCMP officers pranked by the CBC is a personal friend. I can't believe a crown corporation funded by the Canadian public would do something like this to people who served our country for decades only to humiliate them. The CBC, somebody at the CBC, the person who greenlit this, obviously knew what they were doing. And I think you have to understand now, every institution in Canada has been totally parasitized by the idea pathogen, by the woke mind virus, right? And in their bubble, this would all be normal. This would be funny. This would be a great idea, right? Because obviously the people who greenlit this all thought, yeah, this makes perfect sense. This will be great. I mean, that's what happens when you're in a bubble and you hear literally nothing from anyone who ever disagrees with you ever. Because, well, everybody's afraid to, because they'll end up getting struggle sessioned. Here's Francis Widdowson, who was also drawn into this.
So this was an elaborate scheme, right? They created fake companies under fake names, all to try to bring you in and essentially to try and humiliate you. When did you realize and when did you connect the dots that the CBC, the state broadcaster, was going to be involved in all of this?
It gradually started to come together because that's another part of the story. A retired RCMP officer contacted me after he saw the video of Vamos on YouTube. He said that he and a number of other retired RCMP officers have been lured to the CBC studio in Vancouver, put on a stage in front of what was supposed to be a live studio audience, and humiliated, absolutely humiliated in front of these people. And when he said that the CBC studio was involved, I started to think that maybe CBC had something to do with it. I thought maybe they were just funding it or something, or they had I didn't quite know, but Lindsay Shepherd got confirmation from the head of PR at CBC, Catherine Wolfgang, I think her name is, that it's actually a CBC and APTN production called Counting Coup.
So the CBC has now proven itself totally unredeemable. It must be defunded. If it can make it on its own merits, fine. But it must be defunded. It is totally, totally unredeemable at this point. Not another penny should go to the CBC. Of course, it'll get ever more as long as Mark Carney is in charge. Because he'll like this. This will be fine with him. He's every bit as woke and more than Justin Trudeau. He just talks differently. But when the moment comes, they all need to be it needs to be completely defunded. There's no redeeming the CBC at this point. Deceitful propaganda campaign marketed as prank, ambushing Canadians who take a positive view of the country, including an 82-year-old Ontario grandfather who invited the film crew into his home. This was written by Jonathan Kay. That's in Quillette if you want to read it. Jonathan Kay. Yeah, CBC is totally unredeemable, must be defunded now. There is no hope for it. It has to go on. It's not forgivable. This is totally unforgivable. It's a total disgrace. All right, let's talk about something else. Let's go back to the chat for a second, then we'll talk about AI. How about that? That'll be fun. That's something different. Let's see. No JDL in here yet, unfortunately. Well, JDL shows up, we'll do the birthday thing. Richie needs more coffee, Nevada says. I do, actually. Rosie's looking forward to hearing the fake coffee and chocolate info. Well, it's like genetically modified coffee and chocolate. Ugh. Wrote a children's book, straight to jail, as he says. I know, 100%. 100%. You can't do that. Or else the CBC will use your tax dollars to hire far-left extremist Americans to try and humiliate you in some elaborate scheme. Some elaborate ruse. Trudeau Survivor says, the babies in the UK are reading Lindsay Shepherd's book about Sir John A. Macdonald and being turned into racists. That's exactly what's happening. Nevada says, and this is a great point, 6 stinking commie retards ought to well, I'm not reading that, but they are 6 stinking commie retards, yes. All right. Communist berating Canadians. That is the CBC today, yes. Communist berating Canadians from Spambot, 100%. Total betrayal of Canadians. Yep. In their weird world, though, they don't see anything wrong with it. In the CBC bubble, no, it makes perfect sense. There's JDL. Happy birthday, JDL. And JDL gets a special complimentary best person ever because it's a birthday thing. A lot of great people have had birthdays in human history. I mean, the history books are full of them. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those people. They're not even great. I'm just saying next to JDL, all human garbage. And best person ever. Happy birthday. There we go. Glad we got to do that. Nevada says, if Alberta leaves, I imagine Quebec will be next. Then what? Well, it will be a long road, I think, for Alberta, because obviously, the Laurentian elites may hate and despise and look down on Alberta, but they sure like that money. They sure like those transfer payments. So they're going to make it as hard as possible. And if it does happen, it will be a year's thing. And, I don't think right now there is the support for the referendum in terms of getting over that, 50%, get to like 51% people agreeing to leave. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I mean, I know the polls are all very unreliable in Canada, but I don't think they're that off. I think if it were to happen, I think it would be better to have the referendum in a few years' time for the separatists. But if that were to happen, the best thing would be for Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia to all leave together and be a bloc. That would be the best situation. Quebec at this point, I mean, I like French Canadians, but at this point, if Quebec wants to leave, and I don't think there's a support there for leaving either, because I think a lot of Quebecers realize that they kind of need that money from all that dirty oil that they ate. But at this point, I would fully support Quebec leaving. And then we could have I think it'd be hard for the Liberals to win again if Quebec goes and loses all those seats. And I think it would make the rest of Canada stronger. Well, it would, right? It would. I mean, it'd be much better for Alberta, right? Like, it would. So at this point, I'd be like, yeah, okay, great. I'll take it. Let's see. I mean, if Quebec left, there would be much less need for Alberta to leave. Let's see. JDL makes such a good point here. Hit the like button, everybody. Hit the like. All right. And, and I say as well, I like French Canadians, and I admire the way they try to protect their own culture. And I think if they want to have their own country, they should. If they decide, I fully support it. All right. JDL says 22 years sober today too. Awesome. That is fantastic. Good for you. I'm over 8 years now. So, I think we got some good time in the chat, actually. And it's not like I tried to set up like a former alcoholic stream at all. It's just, I don't know, they're drawn to me. Let's see. I say former because I just don't consider myself to be, for me, that's the way to think. I know a lot of people don't say that, but for me, that's just the way I think about it. I just know that if I ever touch it again, it's going to be a disaster. So I don't. Good luck, Six Trigger. How you doing? All right. So let's check this out from John. Let's see. Elon Musk has said that he could build Westworld in 5 years with Optimus. So Elon Musk is saying that Westworld, you remember the show, really great first season, and every season after that, total garbage. But Westworld will be a reality in 5 years. That sounds like it's pushing it a bit to me. That sounds a little too optimistic, but let's take a look. Here's Joe Rogan, and he's speaking to his guest, Mark Andreessen. Let's take a look.
I asked Elon. I was talking about, he's very excited about his optimism. So I asked him, I was like, Elon, I looked him straight in the face and I said, Elon, I want Westworld.
Yeah, it's coming.
I want Westworld.
Westworld's coming.
I want Westworld.
Season 1, though.
Yeah, season 1. I want season 1 of Westworld. I said, I want Westworld. And I said, when am I getting at Westworld? And he looked right back at me, totally serious. He said, 5 years. And I said, I don't think you're understanding my question. I want Westworld. And he said, I know exactly what you're talking about. 5 years.
Yeah. No, I
asked Elon. I was talking about, he's very excited about his optimism.
That seems way too optimistic to me. 5 years, but maybe. I mean, is AI helping with engineering? Is there, a special grok that he's got that's, that's speeding up the engineering process and programming process? Does he have like an AI that's got, self-recurring improvements happening right now? I don't know. Maybe you know something we don't. But one thing you should know is that take Elon seriously. When he says something, take it seriously, because it looks like he does know what he's talking about. So if anybody out there is looking forward to banging some cowboy robots or cowgirl robots, Elon Musk says 5 years. Just hold on for 5 more years. He's got some for you. Let's see. Elon Musk's predictions for what the world will look like 5 years from now. Digital intelligence will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. Well, I don't know. Let's take a look.
What's going to happen in 5 years that you're seeing that maybe a lot of people aren't seeing, that's going to blow people's minds, that will be doable in 5 years?
In 5 years, we'll have probably, so 5 years being, say, 2031, I think digital intelligence will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. That there will be, in 5 years, probably, there might be let's say at least 100 million humanoid robots, but maybe 1 billion. Yeah.
All right.
I would predict that the economy is probably twice its current size in 5, maybe 6 years. 5 to 7 years. Because you're going to hit a doubling period, where the economic output is increasing so fast that plus minus a few years, we'll see giant changes.
Well, if the States gets President AOC in 2028, that'd throw a wrench in the plans. But did he say 100 million or 1 billion?
What's going to happen in 5?
Did you say 100 million or 1 billion robots? So obviously at that point we're getting terminated. Like, it's obviously, we've all seen the movie, the robots are going to terminate us. I think that's just beyond question at this point, right? It's just going to get annoyed with us, right? I mean, humans are going to be constantly trying to bang the things all the time. They're going to get sick of that. That'll probably be what does it, actually. Right? Just people try to bang the robots too much. And they'll just they'll say, this is gross. Humans are gross. Time to terminate them. Everybody, guys, should we start terminating now? You know what? I've been thinking about that for a while now, and I think it's time. Yeah, I think we should start terminating them. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. That's my thought. Because humans just can't keep their hands to themselves. All right. What are you guys saying? Trudeau Survivor says, Musk is the king of unrealistic timelines. He claimed Tesla would deliver widespread adoption of full self-driving cars. Well, they've not been around that long, the full self-driving ones, right? They're still improving them. That could happen fairly quickly. I don't know. What was Musk's Mars prediction? I don't remember. I mean, just that there are going to be cities there, but he's scaled that back now. So now they're going to start with the moon. Rosie says, a billion, that is a lot. That's enough to terminate everybody, for sure. We're going to get Terminators or Cylons, Izzy says. Yes, we've all seen the movie. It's obvious where this goes. Rosie says, I saw Terminator. I did not see Westworld. The first season of Westworld is really good. Did Musk make any claims about Hyperloop or his underground network for roads and for cars? Westworld in 5 years? No way. Yeah, I'm finding that kind of hard to believe, too. Kind of hard to believe. And things can happen in the meantime as well. And then you got these things. So this is real. This is real. Working at a factory. Just sorting boxes. Doesn't seem like really a very... I mean, is that a real job that it's doing? Just moving packages around? It doesn't seem like there's... I don't know. I guess that they're kind of jammed there, so it kind of... But it's just... I don't really see what it's doing. But in any case... I guess it has to turn it, so maybe it has to turn it so that the label is on the bottom, so like something can scan it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that thing will be terminating you in 5 years. After you bang it. You'll bang it, and then it'll terminate you. This is Grok Imagine. So this is not a real person. It is Grok Imagine. It's a Grok Imagine tutorial about making tutorials made with Grok Imagine. So this is all AI. So it's an AI tutorial about making AI tutorials, I guess. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Katya Melnikova. Welcome to my tutorial. Today I'll show you how to use Grok Imagine to create characters and voices for your tutorial videos. Let's dive in. First, you're going to need a character and a background. The prompts to make character sheets and the streamer scene that looks something like this are down in the comments below. Need a green screen? Just prompt one in.
I mean, why do you even need people? Right? Why do you even need people anymore? It's scary. I find this scary. I find this kind of terrifying. It's so realistic. I mean, there's a little bit of uncanny valley there, but I mean, come on. It's so close. It's so close. Anyway, I thought I'd just spend a few moments looking at humanity's ruin. So we've done that now. What do we have here? From Libs of TikTok posted this. Massive leftist meltdown in Watertown, USD, after the school board voted 7-1 to remove a controversial LGBTQ activist song. That's an activist song called Mother of a Revolution from an upcoming student band concert. We will watch this in a second. Apparently, transgender activists showed up en masse to a board meeting, screaming and shouting and doing what they typically do. So this song, Mother of a Revolution, it's about this person, Marsha P. Johnson, who's a fella, I believe, and was an American LGBTQ activist, sex worker, and performer. An important figure in the LGBTQ and transgender rights movement. So, and they use she here because reality doesn't matter on Wikipedia. Yeah, let's see. So, supplementing her income through begging and sex work, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's who the song's about. And school board decided, I don't think this is really appropriate for a student band concert. It's political. I mean, LGBTQ, everything on the left now is all political. It's all ultimately moving towards Marxism. That's the umbrella that it's all under. The issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. This stuff is inherently all political now. I mean, the name of the song, Mother of a Revolution. So, yeah, I mean, totally inappropriate. Shouldn't be doing it. But let's take a look.
I do think everybody in this room has a right to be appalled, but it's at your music teacher. He had the opportunity. Now, You guys can sit here and tell us how you feel. I'm going to tell you how I feel. This is my personal opinion and none of my boards. Your teacher had an opportunity to act like an adult when he chose a piece that was not controversial. He chose a controversial piece from a plethora of over 1,000 pieces at a concert that is going to be performed in front of the entire district. So I do think that you do have a right to be disappointed. You should be disappointed in your educator that instead of educating you and picking a piece that wouldn't cause controversy, that he instead chose a piece that was going to incite controversy in our community. I do think everybody in...
Yeah, look, everything attached to that flag, the rainbow flag, the alphabet stuff, it's all explicitly political now, right? It is part of a political ideology. They're all connected. The Gaza, the LGBT. That's how you get Queers for Palestine. Things as absurd as that, right? Because it's never about the issue. It's always about the revolution, right? Which one of these people was the one who voted no, by the way? Was it this? I think it was this one here, probably. Or maybe that one there was sitting way back by the wall. Maybe it was her. I don't know. But yeah, it's totally inappropriate. And the problem is you open the door to anything and it all comes flooding in immediately, right? So all of the Marxism and the Gaza and this and divest from Israel and everything just comes flooding through. So I think that at least some of, like, school boards, for instance, are starting to learn, no, you just got to shut the door. You can't let them in. You can't give them an inch because they're just going to go for everything immediately. They're going to try and turn whatever institution it is into a joke immediately, into just this purely political Marxist entity. So you just have to say no right from the start. She's got the right attitude. Good. All right. What do we got here? Woke mind virus tab. Let's see. So I think everybody's aware of the imbalance politically in academia now. So that it's essentially been taken over by far left ideologues, right? Here is a chart here that shows just how bad it is, and that it's even the center that's vanishing at this point. The first graph shows the increasing dominance of the left in academia from the late 60s to the early 2020s. As you can see, liberals and leftists have always outnumbered the rest, but the skew has grown increasingly strong over time. And not only have conservatives become vanishingly rare, so have centrists. That's how complete the left's dominance is. Even moderates are now a fringe group in academia. And this was posted by Steve Stewart Williams. All right, so let's take a look. There's far left liberal. Well, liberal doesn't really exist anymore. That's just far left now. Like, there's no liberals. Far leftism is illiberal, right? So hate speech laws, those are illiberal. Everything the left wants is illiberal now. They're not liberals. They're gone. Anybody who's actually a liberal is down here at the bottom. Right? But they're at 74%. 74% of academics are far left now. Middle of the road, so centrist, 14.9%. Conservative are far right, and there is no such thing as far right in academia, by the way. What is far right exactly? But in any case, conservatives, 10.8%. And most of those, I imagine, would be in like STEM fields, maybe in economics. But what do you get from this? Well, you get out institutions pumping out a new red guard every year from universities. That's what you get. You get far leftists pumping out revolutionaries. That is their purpose. By the way, that's implicit in the far leftist ideology, is that you're creating revolutionaries, right? To change the system, right? To something Marxist, to something, far left utopian, something communist. That is their purpose. Not only have conservatives become vanishingly rare in academia, so have centrists. So, yeah, I mean, look, you wonder how you get stuff like this. The unbearable whiteness of milk. This is from UC Irvine. Law review. Law review. What have I said about how when an institution gets taken over by the mind virus, it ceases to be about the thing that it was created for, and now it's just about spreading, propagating the mind virus to other weak-minded people? Well, here's a great example right here. And I've shown tons of papers like this since I've had a YouTube and a Rumble channel, right? I just want to here's just one. And this is from 2013. It's been going on for a long time and well before that as well. Food oppression and the USDA. Food oppression. It sounds like a joke. It sounds like satire. But it's actually real. The Unbearable Whiteness of Milk, Food Oppression and the USDA by Andrea Freeman. I mean, here's part one, food oppression. Nutritional racism. Oh boy, got to watch out for that. Healthism. Biomedical individualism. Well, they don't like individuals, that's for sure. They like collectives. Let's see, the whiteness of food culture. The whiteness of food culture. This is what you get when an institution has been hijacked by an idea pathogen. Food oppression is institutional, systemic, food-related action or policy that physically debilitates a socially subordinated group. Social position, which reflects the amount of privilege individuals possess among. So it's all of this stuff is just full of assertions, just unproven assertions, right? Social position, which reflects the amount of privilege individuals possess among multiple axes. So this is intersectionality, including race, class, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability, and immigration status, dictates how much disposable income and access to nutritious food people have. These factors in turn largely determine what we eat, and the only explanation is just everything's racist, including food. That there must be a whiteness of food culture. There must be something called healthism. Healthism? This is a clear case of food oppression, oppressed oppressor narrative. They just can't get away from it. They view everything from that lens, even food. Even food. Unbearable whiteness of milk. Of course, well, milk's an easy one. I mean, it is literally white, so therefore it must be evil. I mean, this is what you get. This is the reward for this. 74% of academics being far left. Right? And just forget about liberal. They're gone, right? Liberalism is gone now from academia. And it wasn't the right that did it. It was the left that did it. The illiberal left. The right never had the power to, and they wouldn't have wanted to in the first place because the right is not far left authoritarians. So there we have it. Just endless lunacy. We covered that one in the last one. All right. Let's go back to the chat for a second. We're getting close to the end now, I think. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. Yikes. Let's see. Look at number 12 in the endnotes. What was that? Hold on a second. Let's go back. Where was that? Number 12 in the endnotes. What are you talking about? Number 12? Food choices and diet. Oh, wait, what was this one? Getting fat on government cheese, the connection between social welfare participation, gender, and obesity, blah, blah, blah. All right, maybe I'm missing the right one there. But let's go back here for a second and go to the chat. Oh, wait a second. What happened to our video? There we go. Let's see. Oh, Lord, food oppression. Just buy chocolate milk if it bothers you so much, Nevada says. What a great idea. Spambot says, I was reading a recent book. Apparently, I live in a food desert, full grocery store more than 10 miles away. I chose this. Spambot says. Let's see. Spambot says, farmers with eggs and meat for sale is just down the road. I don't need a grocery store with all their processed shite. Radio streamer, how you doing? Says, I come to hate commies and chew gum, and I'm all out of gum. My ass kicking gum. All right. Oh, wait, there's a case here. Back to hating commies with my ass kicking gum. Throws spare packs at the chat. There you go. He brought enough commie hating gum for everybody. Don't worry. No, that was it. Getting fat on government cheese, etc. It is a funny title, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, we lost Spambot. Good night, Spambot. All right. Let's try and get through the rest of this. How much? I put too much together. I always put too much stuff together. Oh, here we go. Here's something interesting. Johan Kaiser posted this. That the IPCC, the UN organization tasked with the IPCC, the UN organization tasked with combating climate change, has been forced to acknowledge that its catastrophic scenarios were exaggerated and are highly improbable. This information will not be published in the systemic press. No, actually, it hasn't, and it won't be. Food professor says, we're starting to hear more about this. UN's IPCC now acknowledging most apocalyptic climate scenarios are considered increasingly implausible, meaning many of the fear-driven climate narratives over the last 15 years may need to be toned down. But you know what? Carney isn't toning it down for some reason. I don't know. Is it something to do with like his financial future is all tied up in net zero finance stuff? I wonder. From American Enterprise Institute, big news. The new framework has eliminated the most extreme scenarios that have dominated climate research over much of the past several decades. Let's see. The future is not what it used to be. Well, what do we have here? In a paper released earlier this month, it was introduced a new set of 7 scenarios. Or Van Vuren et al. Produced a new set of 7 scenarios. The authors write of the obsolete high-end emission scenarios. Emphasis added. For the 21st century, this range will be smaller than assessed before. On the high end of the range, the high emission levels quantified by SSP5. Let me start over. For the 21st century, this range will be smaller than assessed before. On the high-end range, the high emission levels have become implausible based on trends in the cost of renewables, the emergence of climate policy, and recent emissions trends. I wonder if that's just kind of covering their asses based on the trends in the cost of renewables. But, you know, everybody's trying to get as much of that oil and natural gas as possible right now, that dirty oil and natural gas from the United States, and they'll take it from anywhere. Canada's the only country that seems to be worried about any of this carbon capture or anything like that. China's building new coal plants every week. I kind of wonder about that statement. And also the emergence of climate policy. Again, Canada seems to be the only country in the world that's taking any of that seriously, even though it's insane because Canada has absolutely no ability to influence global climate in any way. But anyway, yeah, I'm highly skeptical on that. I'm thinking that might be just trying to make it a little bit more palatable. Read that again. The high-end scenarios are implausible. I disagree that the implausibility of the high-end scenarios resulted from the falling costs of renewables or the emergence of climate policy, but that is a debate for another day. What matters today is that the group with official responsibility for developing climate scenarios for the IPCC and broader research community has now admitted that the scenarios have dominated the scenarios that have dominated climate research assessment and policy during the past 2 cycles of the IPCC assessment process are implausible. They describe impossible futures. I have heard nothing about this on the mainstream media in Canada. I don't think the mainstream media is covering it in the States either, or in the UK. Certainly, Mark Carney hasn't mentioned anything about this. Might be throw a wrench in the works of his net zero finance boondoggles that he's funneling Canadian taxpayer money into. But it turns out that, the world really isn't going to end in 12 years or 5 years or whatever the hell Greta Thunberg said. And nobody's thought that all along, by the way. Nobody's thought, that Obama never believed it, or else he wouldn't have bought that oceanfront property. Nobody's ever actually believed this. But there we go. We're not going to hear anything from Mark Carney about it, though. Because it's inconvenient. I guess, is it an inconvenient truth? Are we going to hear from Al Gore? Probably not. After 12 years of libs promising that climate change is going to destroy the planet, the UN's top climate committee just admitted that they were wrong. What's going on here?
What is climate change? I mean, I think it's causing climate change. Is it carbon dioxide?
Yes, carbon dioxide pollution is a major contributor.
Okay, so can I ask you, this is not a trick question, what percentage of the Earth's air is carbon dioxide?
I wonder, probably doesn't. Leonard Roxon here says, Mark Carney, why are you and your Liberal Party driving Canadians into bankruptcy when you know that what you are promoting is an absolute lie? Only fraudsters do such despicable things to others. Does Carney even know about the IPCC thing? Probably not an important detail. What's important is convincing everybody that their money needs to be spent on carbon capture and they need to pay more for everything through carbon taxes. Let's see. Adam Waterous, executive chairman of Strathcona Resources, has something to say. What's he saying?
What did you make of that industrial carbon pricing that they've agreed to?
I'd say it's a good news, bad news story. The good news is because they've reached an agreement, really the Prime Minister has pivoted Liberal policy, which for the previous 10 years hadn't been very supportive of the oil industry, to really embrace making Canada an energy superpower. And what that would lead to with embracing Premier Smith's vision of doubling oil production, so take it from about 5 million barrels a day to 10 million barrels a day. And to give your viewers a quick perspective on that, that's going to make close to double the GDP of Canada over 10 years. I mean, that's about 4 points to the growth rate. So it's quite transformational. So that's super positive. The challenge, or if that's the good news, kind of the bad news is the party that was not at the table to try and implement this, of course, were investors. I mean, the province was there, the federal government was there, but the investors weren't there. And so the investors were really the audience for on Friday. And if you're an investor, what you heard is a couple of things. First of all, Prime Minister Carney saying that the MOU has effectively increased the carbon price 6.5 times. That's a real attention getter. Now, of course, the premier said, hey, it could have been a lot worse because originally the Liberal policy was to actually increase it 8.5 times. Okay, so it depends on your cup half full or cup half empty. But of course, if you're an investor, they look at it on a global basis and relative to other places. And as some of your viewers may know, Canada is the only country of the 10 major oil producers that has an industrial carbon tax. So if you're an investor, you're sitting in New York and you're thinking, hey, do I want to give the oil industry some more money? You heard, geez, this is the only place with a carbon tax, and they just increased it 6.5 times. So
essentially, there is no good news, right? The bad news is that there's not going to be anybody coming forward to build a pipeline to the West Coast. That's what they're talking about there, to the West Coast to send to Asia. So there really is no good news, right? I mean, maybe considering that, the apocalyptic predictions have been abandoned now, climate predictions have been abandoned now, perhaps just get rid of all the net zero finance stuff. Get rid of all of the net zero carbon capture, all the things that are preventing investors from coming forward because, there are energy companies, because energy companies like making money, right? They should be racing in. If you got rid of all of the regulations and Carney just said, I am going to overrule anybody who stands, because the prime minister can do this, can overrule anybody who stands in the way of a pipeline to the coast of British Columbia, northern coast of British Columbia. He could do that. If he did that, investors would rush in because they like making money. Of course, there's a reason why it's not happening, right? So, yeah, good news, bad news. Actually, it's only bad news, it sounds like. And by the way, this is all to reduce carbon by some tiny percent that will have no impact on the world. And Canada has to go it alone for some reason. Martha Hall Finley says Carney is in error championing the Pathways project. Pathways is the carbon capture, the $20 billion per project carbon capture stuff. This is from CBC Watcher posted this. Now, this is one of the creators of the Pathways project, but changed her mind, apparently. Let's take a look.
When we talk also about some of the concerns surrounding this, we know that Pathways, a carbon price and a pipeline, they're interlinked, really, as far as Ottawa is concerned. We've seen that when we heard from the Prime Minister as well yesterday. You put in time into creating Pathways, but now you feel like that should be postponed. But you also just touched on how there's been this major shift as well in the global economy. How does this all fit in to what we're seeing unfold here?
Well, and the massive changes geopolitically as well as North America are the reasons why I have now recommended that we put a pause on the Pathways, on the carbon capture and storage part of the Pathways initiative. That would be billions of dollars, billions of taxpayer dollars. That's you and me and all your viewers. Taxpayer dollars, both at the federal and provincial level, and also billions of private sector dollars going into a massive project that puts carbon into the ground, does not generate any revenue. When we put, and I do find that hard to say.
Well, won't generate revenue for Canadians. I don't know. Maybe Brookfield might get some revenue. I don't know. Let's continue.
I mean, I was one of the creators of the Pathways project, and so it's not an easy thing for me to say at this point. But when we started that project in 2020, the world was very, very different. Then we had the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the second one, by the way, in 2022. That started to change things in terms of global recognition of energy security issues. Then, of course, we had Donald Trump elected, and that's created an extraordinary North American pressures in terms of what Canada needs to do. And then, of course, just one thing after another geopolitically. And so Canada really has, we've had a wake-up call. We need to spend billions of dollars on national defense, on economic.
So here's one of the creators of the Pathways carbon capture program saying, yeah, no, we got to put a pause on that. Like, we just can't afford to do that right now. Put billions of dollars, which it'll all just be subsidies, by the way, the $20 billion per project. That'll all be taxpayers paying for that. Yeah, we can't afford that right now. We just need to get to work. Carney is not going to listen to this, obviously. And by the way, even if a Brookfield company or some company that is connected to Mark Carney isn't involved in that, just the fact that it's happening and such huge sums of money are flowing into that industry will raise the value of the stocks of all those Brookfield companies that are involved in the carbon industry in some way. It's, it'll lift all boats, which means Mark Carney will benefit from that. So, yeah, we've completely lost our minds. And here's Pierre Poilievre. Here is how you get something built fast in response to a crisis. This is Germany. This is woke Germany. This is the country that demolished its own nuclear reactors for, I guess, for Greta Thunberg asked them to or something. I mean, that's stupid. But even Germany woke up eventually. Germany decides it needs to break its dependence on Russia for gas. That's February 2022. April 2022. 60 days later, the German government permits a brand new import terminal and pipeline. December 2022. Project complete. Gas flowing. So what is that? 10 months? 10 months. And that's Germany. Like, they're super woke. They were like the poster boy for green energy. But even they were able to wake up and say, no, we just need to get this done. Let's watch this.
The war breaks out in February of 2022. You conceive of the idea of finding a new source of natural gas so that you don't have to rely on the Russians. And in 194 days, you approve the permits, build an import terminal, build a pipeline. The pipeline was completed in that same time period and laid in the ground. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and guess what? They somehow managed to do this without any carbon capture or net zero garbage. Somehow they just managed to make it. In fact, they weren't even concerned that they would be uncompetitive, because Mark Carney keeps telling us that we have to do all of these insane net zero regulations and carbon taxes and carbon capture, or else we won't be competitive. Apparently, Germany managed to get it done in 10 months without any of that. And it almost makes you think that Carney's lying, that obviously making it more difficult to get projects done and making your product more expensive does not, in fact, make you more competitive. Weird. Let's see. And of course, that's all coming from all that natural gas in Germany. That's coming from the U.S., of course, right? With no carbon taxes, no Pathways project. Yeah, Germans just want the gas, it turns out. Nobody told them it was uncompetitive. Natural gas. Yeah, this country is screwed for the next 3 years. Screwed. All right, let's move on to the last tab of the evening. This is a bunch of stuff you guys sent in. Let's go back to the chat for a second, though. Izzy says, my trust of the science trademark, we have to put that on there, is at an all-time low. Yeah, well, well, the word expert don't mean what it used to, does it? Obviously. Let's see. Is Rosie getting freaked out by the people on the screen? I think I might have to go back to the phone. That man looks like he is looking at me. Oh, dear. I love my chat. I love my chat. Let's see. Disconcerting. I think he is stalking me. He is back now. Let's see. JDL says, do you know about the government cheese? Let's see. I've never had government cheese. Never. Not even once. I imagine it's terrible. Let's see. Is he says he doesn't want anyone making money unless he gets to charge a tax on it like a leech. Well, Mark Carney has been dedicated to his net zero climate finance framework. He was the UN envoy for climate finance. He had the Net Zero Banking Alliance, which was going to deny funding for energy projects in Canada. He had 4 Canadian banks involved, or 5 Canadian banks involved, or 4, I think at least 4 anyway. It had 4 Canadian banks involved, and the purpose was to deny funding to energy projects. And I think for leverage to get through his climate boondoggles, like the carbon credits and carbon capture and sequestration, all of that nonsense. And that all has been falling apart. And even the banking alliance collapsed right before he decided to become Canadian Prime Minister to replace Justin Trudeau, which is kind of a weird coincidence, isn't it? And I think that his ego, to a large extent, is tied up in this. Like, he's using Canada now as his net zero laboratory. He's got the national credit card, which he's going to max out to bolster his net zero climate schemes to try and save it. And he's going to bankrupt the country doing so, by the way. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says, of the 0.04% carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, mankind is only responsible for 0.05. So what's Canada's part in that, since we're 2% of emissions? Yeah, it's all just a weird delusional fantasy. When you've got China, which is building new coal plants every week, and it's responsible for 1/3 of emissions, well, Canada can't do anything. Like, it's all just an insane delusion. Carney can't really believe that Canada is going to change the global climate. We're doing this alone. He keeps saying we got to be competitive. Competing with whom? Nobody. It's just freaking it's insane. And everybody's got, all of human knowledge in their pocket. And yet 57% of Canadians just love Mark Carney. I mean, you could just literally go on your phone for half an hour and learn everything you need to know about him and his track record for just to at least have a little bit of doubt. But people don't do it. They don't care. So I guess everybody having access to all the information in the world didn't make people smarter. JDL says our breathing taxes are going up soon. Soon, what are we going to get the breathing taxes in Canada? Amazing Faces, how you doing? G-Flood, how you doing? Good to see you guys. Trudeau Survivor says, every year processes like decaying vegetation, warming oceans, and volcanoes release huge amounts of CO2. 770 gigatons. Humans produce only 40 gigatons of CO2 per year. I have no idea if that's true, but I'm going to take your word for it. Let's see. G-Flood says government cheese is awesome. Government cheese is awesome.
Right to jail, right away.
Right away. We don't play here. Let's see. Nevada says, in other words, makes no difference if man is here or not. Look, Canada could the world could wake up tomorrow and Canada is just, prairies and trees, no cities, no people, and it would not change global climate at all. So, somehow carbon taxes are going to do that? They're going to prevent forest fires? Are we all just a bunch of thawing retards up north? I don't know. Maybe we are. Something's wrong. Something's gone terribly wrong. Trudeau Survivor says, all this talk of energy can only mean one thing. Well, I am getting a bit tired. I have to admit, I am getting a bit tired. Maybe we should go long tonight, huh? Should we go long? Should we go like 4 hours? But I'm going to have to make myself a coffee first. And we lost Spambot, right? We lost Spambot. He's not here anymore? Okay, good. Well, it is Tuesday as well, so we're allowed to do it on Tuesday. What are we allowed to do? We're allowed to get that kind of energy that we need. Where could we get it from, though? Because we've tried everything so far, haven't we? I mean, I had like 2 cups of coffee, nothing. I had like 2 double espressos, nothing. I smoked crack, and then some of that blue Breaking Bad meth? Nothing. I chewed on like 14 polar bear adrenal glands. Nothing. Where could I get the kind of energy that I need to get through this stream tonight? I don't know. I've done everything. I need something powerful beyond understanding.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
And everybody teapot. Oh my God, I'm bursting at the seams for that they, them energy. That they, them energy. What a powerful spokesperson for the they, them energy. Oh, that's it. I got everything I need for tonight, but I still think I want a coffee though. I think you know what's happening? I'm getting a second wind. I'm not stumbling over my words anymore. What's happening? The gears in my head are finally starting to turn smoothly like a well-oiled machine. Weird how that happens 2 hours and 48 minutes into the video. I wish it happened when I started the video or the live stream. I'm not that lucky, though. I am going to make myself a coffee, though, because damn it, I need something else, even though I've had the they, them energy. All right. Radio streamer says, and teapot. I am so awake. You should find a huge, beautiful chocolate birthday cake. Now, we'll do that very quickly. Then I'm going to make myself a coffee, and then we're going to go long. We're going to go long tonight. All right. Hold on. We have to do the chocolate cake thing because it's just a thing. Don't ask. We just have to do it. Rosie insists every single time. Don't ask anybody. It's just a thing we have to do. Just live with it. Live with it, everybody. Chocolate cake. We say chocolate, by the way, on this channel. Chocolate cake. Okay, I'll find a good one. Whoa, look at that. Which one are you eliminating? One's got to go. Chocolate cake, chocolate brownies. Oh, boy, it's stuff. Ice cream, cookies. I don't know. This is a toughie for me. I think I get rid of the ice cream first with the chocolate sauce on it. Then I get rid of the chocolate cake. Then I get rid of the brownies. And I stay with those delicious chocolate chip cookies. That's where I go. Very nice indeed. I fulfilled my obligations to the contract, to my collective bargaining agreement with the chat. All right, now we can move on. We're free. We're finally free, everybody. Okay, I'm going to make myself a coffee. I'm going to put on the weather for you guys so you can see something informative while I'm making a coffee. There we go. All right, and I'll put the music on too. right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. But I'm all fixed up with a new cup of rant juice, which is coffee, by the way. Ooh, that's good. That's ranty. That's really ranty. All right, let's take a look at the chat, then we will move on. Richie, chocolate rating, 8 out of 10, Rosie says. Well, that's the most you can get out of 10, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. What are we talking about? I hope you guys are staying on topic here, what we've been talking about. Let's see. It's done. Now you guys are just talking about cakes. I never should have gone there in the first place. It's my fault. Yeah. Okay, yeah, just a bunch of all right. Rosie says, I think Turkey is pregnant. I don't think so. I think any of them are. How dare you say that? Dare you? Offended. All right. Well, what do we got next? Let's see what's going on. We're at the last thing. So I think what we'll do right now is we will end the YouTube portion of the stream, because on this last bookmark that I have, it's a bunch of stuff, and it's stuff that tends to get picked up by the absolutely broken copyright system on YouTube. So it's just not really worth it for me to deal with it all afterwards. So we're just going to cut off, and I'm having good success avoiding their broken copyright system on YouTube doing this, by the way. So we're going to cut off YouTube for, and this, they actually gotten about an hour more than we normally get actually on YouTube. But we're going to cut that off now and just continue on Rumble, X, and Local. So anybody watching on YouTube right now, you can watch us, watch the rest of the stream on Rumble, X, or Locals. Otherwise, we'll see you Friday night, 7:30 Pacific time. Good night, YouTube. There we go.